Let's talk about your new collection, because I was lucky enough to have a sneak peek. I'm interested in two things. One, you were saying in the words that will accompany it something like, there's this urge to hug and kiss and meet and this feeling of, are we still allowed, that comes into it, and I would like you to define that better. And then also a little bit your work with Tim Walker's on it.
Well, when we first started, I mean, I concepted this collection before lockdown, so it was kind of concepted when we were all freaking out in a way. We were all kind of terrified of each other. We didn't know, there was no sort of structure that was put into place. I get a lot of my ideas sort of walking and listening to music, and I started just sort of thinking about this idea of aversion and sort of this idea of like kind of colour and print and mark making, and how, where is that used to sort of warn people of things. And obviously my mind went to, you know, this idea of creatures that are poisonous, or creatures that are sort of like, they make themselves bright to actually say, stay away from me. And I know it's kind of quite a generic way to go, but my brain went there, and I never really had looked at sort of like natural forms before my work, even though my work is very bright and has a lot of pattern. I decided to look at a lot of kind of poisonous markings, and sort of started from there. And then when the collection obviously developed and we were kind of product designing it, aligning with manufacturers online, you know, obviously things start to calm down a little bit, and I was thinking, well, how do I deliver a collection that was concepted in a moment of fright, and how do I deliver that now? And it's almost like when I do this with shows, it's like, how do I deliver a collection that we've been working on when my intention has changed, or when you see it? And I was discussing with a few sort of colleagues of mine about it, and we were talking about how colour therapy and chromotherapy, how colour is used to heal, and how colour is used or is regarded to chakras of the body and things like that. So we were looking at this and kind of Rorschach tests and everything sort of came out into that space. So it was this idea of the friction between the stay away and the kind of healing and the coming together. And I think that's that idea of like, are we allowed to have contact with each other? It's like, are you allowed to pet this? Are you allowed to touch this? So I think that for me, the clothing is almost, you know, looking at it, you don't know whether you want to be averted by it or if you want to kind of use it to heal you. And I think that that's what's really interesting about it coming out. From there, obviously, working with Tim Walker, who's actually a really dear friend of mine now. He's kind of like a bit of a mentor. And we were talking about this idea of contact as well. And, you know, I thought, well, Loverboy's never really sort of done this idea of, we've done like peacocking before, but it's been much more about kind of like showing off, almost like in a club space, like peacocking an outfit, but we've never done this idea of like attracting another person and this idea of like attracting somebody for contact. So that was really interesting. So some of the photographs sort of represent this idea of, I mean, there's elements of nudity that are in there, there's elements of body painting, there's elements of sort of, again, yeah, kind of keeping away, and we've sort of this idea of friction and movement and warping was something which Tim does anyway a lot with his photos, but we pushed the barrier of his editing and put something a little bit more contemporary and used a lot of tools that I use for my digital drawing within the editing of the photographs. So it's this sort of like Shangri-La of sort of
Amazing.
Of stuff, yeah.
So that's the way you're going to present it, actually.
Yes, so in lieu of a show, which I guess we're sort of known for, of doing something dramatic, it's been quite nice actually to have a moment to consider how else our Loverboy can exist, not because we've had to. It's like, well, we have a lovely space now to sort of exist in a way that people might not kind of side-eye and be like, oh, are they not able to do a show? Well, why not? Why are they not able to do a show? Yeah. It's like, no, people aren't doing shows. So I was quite inspired by, you know, designers sort of arriving, like sending shows to people, like naming like people like J.W. Anderson with Loewe. I thought that was a really beautiful way to sort of engage with the consumer or the press. And I thought, well, for me, if I wanted to do something along those lines, I'd probably want it to be something that feels a bit more permanent. I have on my desk or in my room, I've always got stacks of books, and I just love them as objects. And I wanted to make something that didn't feel seasonal. I wanted to make something you could always go back to and feel something with. So the Tim shoot is going to be a box that's in a kind of concertina. It takes up space within, you know, you open it up, it sort of as bombastic as I am. It's sort of,
thing,
yeah, it takes up space. And
so the press is going to receive this, or some of your friends, clients?
We're going to democratize it. Like, again, it's this idea of democratizing the offer. Like, I think that Loverboy is a democratic brand in and out. You know, obviously I lead it, but it's always based on, it's always been like that. It's been a group of people.
Yeah, it's not an elite.
No, exactly. I come from a working class family. I'm, you know, not into that. It's always been about democracy and looking after people. But with regards to the offer, it's obviously going to press and buyers. It's going to everyone that's been involved in the project, friends, and we're going to put it on our website as well for people to purchase.
Fantastic.
So,
can't wait to see that.
No, it's going to be
Can you show us a little bit of your collection?
Yes. So I have a slight example. This is not the sign-off, but I just thought I'd bring a slight example of the box. But inside, so basically it's going to arrive something similar like this. This is going to be branded. And inside here, I've actually just bought something that just feels a little bit more, less presentable, just a bit more authentic. It's just ephemera from my studio. So it's one thing that I love when kind of fitting and casting a collection is just the ephemera that you kind of get. So this is some of the fitting photos that we have here from the pieces. So there's another thing that actually happened within this collection, which is these first pictures here, which was a project that we did with our interns during lockdown. So this is another thing that I'm super proud of. We obviously had to let go our interns, and they didn't have anything to do. They just started with us. And for me, I wanted to still let them be part of the Loverboy world. So we designed this project, which is called the Hope Suit Project, which is basically to make folkloric costume. I've always been super inspired by folklore, and especially Scottish folklore. Yeah. And it's inspired by the Bury Man, which is a kind of like costume that's covered in brambles. But what I did is I sent packages to each of the interns with drawings on A3 paper and then some fabric. Yeah. And then they embroidered each of the suits with the fabric and everything. And then we constructed them into these folkloric suits. So they will appear in the Tim photos. And fantastic. Yeah, there's lots of, and again, it's just this idea of like the push and pull. So we worked with a new stylist as well called Matthew Josephs, who I've known for a while. He primarily works with Twigs and who's an amazing singer. And it was just great to have a new voice involved within it as well, because I tend to style
a new point of view.
Exactly, and you know, I always do all of it myself, and it's just quite nice to sort of let somebody sort of take a look at it and contribute. And it was really successful working with him. He's a joy to work with. So in here, I also have just some. It's not the most amazingly presented, but it's very. This is quite me. Just kind of pick it up and hand it over. So we have these. Sort of elasticated expressions. So as I was saying, we're looking at like, you know, I guess sort of animal markings and sort of textures that are to avert the hand. You can't touch, it's poisonous, all of this kind of stuff. We're looking at how we can raise things and sort of make things spiky. So this is a really interesting technique that we developed, which is like sort of stitching, shearing elastic into, you know, our tartan, which we try and
signature tartan.
Yeah, this is our Loverboy tartan, and my goal every season is to do something different to it.
With it.
So this time we've kind of prickled it, and then this is printed chiffon as well. So we've made some lovely garments out of that. Jacquard is proving to be a really amazing thing for us as well, and it's a great vehicle to develop fabrics that have sort of artwork made manifest aspect to them. So again, this was based a lot on caterpillar. Sounds quite basic, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But there's something quite modish which I like about it. So we did this in menswear and womenswear fabrication. So these come in tailoring. Every season we always develop a custom tartan as well. I think that's something that I always want people to kind of come to us for, is a new tartan. And then digital printing. I mean, this is just some examples of some of the artworks that we did in lockdown. I moved in with my boyfriend during the time, and we both were, he's an amazing illustrator, so we kind of drew, we did this sort of like Dada way of drawing something and then passing it on and then drawing on top of it. So
you two drew this?
Yes, so this is just some snippets of the total one, but yeah, there's a lot of kind of things that kind of come from being in lockdown, like, you know, all these prints as well. Like I did all of these sort of Rorschach prints, and we've printed onto silk as well for dresses. So just building off of fabrications that have done really well for us successfully.
Can't wait to see it.
Yes, thank you so much.
And I wish you all success that it deserves, and I hope to see you soon.
Yes, same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you.